allow yourself to address the rejection that has happened in your life so that we
Absolutely.
can allow the healing to occur. We can anchor you in your identity. I really believe that some people don't know who they are because they won't allow the healing to take place. They won't allow us to touch the rejection. They don't want to touch the rejection.
Welcome to the Spirit in Mind broadcast with your hosts, Bishop C. Guy Robinson and Dr. Jonathan Shepard, where we explore faith and mental health perspectives on current affairs. Let's get into today's discussion with the Spirit in Mind.
And it's that acceptance that we wrestle with. And thank you, because that word acceptance allows for us to move into the ability to anchor our identity. Because many of us will choose to be something else. Many of us don't like the circumstances that we've gone through. If you think about normal child development, we can identify, even by age 5, certain characteristics within a particular child. You know, we're able to look and see regarding some personality traits, even by age 5, that literally are hardwired into children.
Yeah.
We know when we diagnose certain developmental disorders, whether it be autism or autistic spectrum disorder, whether there are going to be some developmental delays that may have been due to how birth occurred during the pregnancy, whether the mother was using substances, whether they were illegal substances or even some legal substances can even affect how the brain matures and the various other things that happen. And it's so interesting that these are the things that we can spot quickly in such a early age in a child's normal development. That really, Bishop, is helpful as you talked about the acceptance, because I can even feel for parents, if you just indulge me for a minute, you are now dealing or faced with a issue where I've known a colleague, a physician, who her body rejected her, and she found out that she was going to have a child with Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they wrestled with the decision of do we keep the child or do we abort the child? Mm-hmm. And, I won't go any further as to, because that's their own personal decision. But that was such a strong, a strong reaction. I feel like that's not even the right word. She came to me to be able to help through the situation, how to be able to figure out what to do next. And I'll be honest with you, Bishop, I didn't know what to do, what to say, because that is a personal decision. Mm-hmm. We know with certain situations where a mother, literally, her life could be at risk for moving forward with the birth. These are some real personal and strong decisions. And I'm glad we're talking about it, Bishop. I really am, because these are certain things that people don't want to talk about.
Absolutely, we avoid them. And listen, I'm no master of this. I'm ever a student of it. But they are real issues that we face, and even questions that we get when we're caring for persons as caregivers in our respective vocations. Having said that, and even from a male perspective, because you mentioned that, even if it's not happening to us physically, there's a part, and I know this as a man. There's this feeling of discomfort with the helplessness when you're watching someone you love, and I say this being mindful of our worldview and being mindful of our social context at the risk of sounding sexist. So please forgive me. I'm just acknowledging our worldview. But we tend to be engendered in a way that ingrains in us, if you will, this idea of being protectors, of being providers. And it is almost counterintuitive to be like, well, why aren't you giving me, even as a man of faith, God, I need you to give me the answer that's going to settle this, that's going to solve this. I need you to help me, particularly when we're watching a spouse or significant other or a child. I'm having a moment, even as we're talking, when long years ago, and I won't tell all the business because my children say that I keep them in the fishbowl, but that's a PK challenge. But I remember years ago when one of our children had a situation that required a procedure, and it was hearing her cry out my name was excruciating. I can still hear it now, and I'm sitting there like, well, God, because there's absolutely nothing I can do in that moment to help that condition. I'm completely dependent on the expertise of the physician that is in the room. And he at that time is the only person in the room that can address that. But to address it, he had to touch some parts that were painful. And as a father, you're feeling the conflict of like wanting to jump on this guy for hurting my child. And at the same time saying, no, even though this is causing pain, it's going to make her better. And so all of that, and I'm wondering, does she think I'm just failing her? I'm not there for her. I'm here. All of that is going on. And so, so as brothers, we feel that as well, because we are raised, tend to be, in a sense, to say that we are the providers and the protectors. And so watching those things are very painful. They're not easy, but they're important to talk through, so we know we're not alone and that there's help in this hope.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Bishop. That's such a transparent moment. And I think about even how people sit in our offices when they come for help, whether they come for pastoral counseling, whether they come for mental health counseling and treatment, and they tell us, well, we can talk about this, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Right. It's like, we're not touching that. I'm not ready to touch that. And I understand that. And, there has to be a process. We talked about it has to take some time. But if you never get to that point to be able to touch what needs to be touched, how you're going to be able to, deal with the issue. I think about, those infectious disease doctors. It hurts when you have an abscess in your body. Mm-hmm. The body is such a unique organism that when you have an abscess, it will quarter it off. And that's what develops the abscess. It will become a collection of infection of pus and things like that. And the body knows how to ward it off. But the one thing that it can't do is when it ward it off, it can't expel it. Yeah. So it needs some help to be able to touch it, to be able to drain it. And let me tell you, when you go to drain it, it don't feel good. Yeah. And even afterwards, there's some residual effects. There's still an opening. Even after you drain the abscess. And that's why we use packing. We may use different sterile gauze to pack that thing in. But and it's so interesting again how the body with the sterile gauze in begins to close back up and begins to heal and begins to make those bands within the skin strong again to where you can take the gauze out. You don't have to leave the gauze in. I think that's sometimes what happens as we're anchoring our identities, as we're dealing with the rejection. We tend to leave some of the stuff in that was there to help to bridge the gap. And then you end up with a bigger problem.
Yeah. That's one of the, as you were sharing that, I kind of see an image of one of the ways in which perhaps, and this is coming to me freestyle now, so go, but as you were sharing, come to the idea that that's one of the ways in which churches and hospitals may resemble each other in this way, is that hospitals can have, and sometimes I'm doing visitations, all those things, is like really beautiful lobbies and really beautiful, sometimes pianos and really beautiful gift shops and really beautiful cafeterias, really nice food and all these things. But somewhere in there is an operating room that's touching some places that hurt. And that's really the idea that has to be with our churches. And I'm particularly concerned that we would get overly dependent on the beautiful, the performative things, the beautiful lobbies, the beautiful the great fellowship halls, the great places to have dinner. That's all there, but somewhere in that faith institution, there has to be an operating room and people who will allow skilled persons in the faith to touch those painful spiritual areas so that we won't get politically incorrect. No, this is just a procedure. And in order to do this procedure, we got to touch some stuff that hurts because you can't heal what you don't access. And in order to heal it, we got to touch it. We got to deal with it. We got to talk about it.
Absolutely. Can't run from it. Can't isolate yourself from it.
Right.
Now you can run from it, you get mad, but then you just carry that same issue to wherever you go to next. That's it is like an infectious patient. All you doing is moving from one hospital to the next hospital. And let me tell you, we keep a record, Bishop.
So I just want, and I know there's balance to this statement that I'm making, and so I know everybody would post in something different. So there is balance, and I'm open to the other sides. But we're talking about this particular position right now in this metaphor. But when I'm old school a little bit, but I'm also new school. I'm a middler, and so but I'm old enough to remember when people would come home from church or stand in the line with the preacher and go, Rev, Bishop, Doc, you stepped on my toes today, it made me better, and so the idea was you touch some uncomfortable places, but I feel the conviction and I'm being challenged and I'll be back next week.
Right.
Somehow we've transitioned from you stepped on my toes to you offended me and I'm gone. And so I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so we have to have places like the hospital where, yes, we have beautiful lobbies, and yes, we have information desks, and yes, we have great fellowship halls, and yes, we serve great dinners, but there's also in here an operating room where we touch some stuff that's difficult, but it's essential to making us healed, healthy, and whole.
And I challenge the people out there listening today, allow yourself to address the rejection that has happened in your life so that we can allow the healing to occur. We can anchor you in your identity. I really believe that some people don't know who they are because they won't allow the healing to take place. They won't allow us to touch the rejection. They don't want to touch the rejection. And I get it. Some of the rejection has been our own physical body. It can even be your own mental body. It can be something that happened within your own family. And it's very sensitive. But Bishop has been very clear about that. And I agree with him totally about acceptance. We may not have liked or even approve as to what may have happened. But thank God that he gives us the ability to accept what God allows. I know that's a song, Bishop. I just heard that ringing in my ear.
I'm sure, absolutely. That's important. I want that was particularly regarding the subjects of illness and mortality. I don't know if there's an easy path where we get to. I don't know. Illness and mortality are not something of which we approve as much as we come to accept.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we just want to encourage you all. We have one more gift that we want to deal with. But Bishop, I just want to make sure that we have enough time to deal with that. I'm loving the discussion, and we love to hear from you all, and love to hear some more comments about what you would like to hear about and how this has blessed you all. And look us up. Make sure that you go to our social media pages, and make sure that you can download all of these episodes, because we do read the comments. I read those comments. I look to see how many downloads we have. And you can even hit us up at spiritinmindhealth@gmail.com. And we will get those comments and emails that way, spiritinmindhealth@gmail.com. And so we want to make sure that you have a way of being able to express. Bishop, it's so interesting when I read the comments and the reels and just the various different people, the pastors and the various leaders who are being helped through this particular platform. Very appreciative to everyone out there.
Yeah. And we welcome the continuation of this discussion. I reiterate, here's the disclaimer again. We did not exhaust this subject. It is complex, and you certainly have some experiences and things that can contribute to the discussion. And so we welcome those in the content and the follow-up and all of that. And our goal, and again, if you need further discussion and further help, we didn't talk about it today, but we can pick up next week. But the idea is it's particularly as we talk about identity, is in these difficult experiences, is how to integrate them into a healthy sense of identity, to be this integrated, healthy person that takes even the struggles and the setbacks and the pains and the health battles and the heartbreaks and the grievances, and integrate them with the joyful moments and the successes and the accomplishments. And so that we are, all things work together. There you go. That's the biblical statement of what Rogerian ideology would call an integrated, healthy identity. And so we hope to integrate all of that into making us better. So again, thank you for joining us for Spirit in Mind. And as the Lord gives us grace, we look forward to seeing you next time on Spirit in Mind.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Spirit in Mind, and we're also on Instagram at Spirit in Mind Live. Join us next time for a new episode of Spirit in Mind.